Hello, friends by choice.
You are listening to another episode of the Sisters by Chance podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Cam.
I'm Addi.
Addi, how has your week been this week?
It has been a crazy week. Obviously, we are launching a podcast very, very soon. It's about to be Colette's birthday. We're getting Ozzy back. So it's just been a whirlwind. But I'm super excited because I feel like we are about to reap the benefits of all of our hard work.
Yes, it's been a crazy, crazy month. February always is the craziest. My birthday, Colette's birthday. It's just nonstop going and going. Valentine's Day is coming up as well. I'm not excited about that holiday. I'm sure Addi is, though, because her and her boyfriend are going on a little camping getaway.
Glamping.
Fun. All right, let's get into the quote of the day. Today's quote of the day is, "Women must be superheroes because who else can bleed for 7 days and not die?"
I personally love that quote because not only is it, one, true, it also really encompasses just how badass women are because we go through something that is just so, an outer body experience, and it's just crazy that we deal with that every month, and it's just so normalized for us to go through that and not get the credit of how hard it really is. So I really love that quote because it really shows wow, women are badass.
Bleeding is badass.
Period. If you haven't guessed it from the quote of the day, today we are talking about periods.
I hate that we did jazz hands for that. For those of you who aren't watching on YouTube or watching the video feed, we both did jazz hands.
I don't know why it felt right, but it did.
We just needed a little period. Yeah, we're going to be going over our period horror stories, how we decide to deal with it in our own separate ways, and what products we like to use, because definitely very different on that front. And just some tips on how to cope and just some general older sister advice.
And if you're a man or a boy, do not click off of this because it might help you better understand the women in your life. So keep on listening.
Stick around.
Don't immediately click off when you hear periods. This could help you.
Before we dive too deep into today's topic, I think it's really important to note that womanhood and getting a period, while not always, can be two separate things, and they aren't necessarily...
They're not mutually exclusive.
Exactly. There are plenty of women out there who don't get a period at all, and there is men out there who have transitioned from being a woman who still have to deal with that and who still have to get their period.
And that doesn't necessarily make them a woman.
Exactly.
Sure. There's a lot of reasons that a woman couldn't get a period, either athleticism, eating disorder, like we mentioned, trans women, and polycystic ovary syndrome, which is a disorder that affects your hormones and can cause you to not have a period. So all of those things do not make you a woman. You are still a woman and you are still a badass. We just want you to know that just because you don't get your period, or maybe you don't get your period very often, does not take away from your womanhood.
No matter your situation or your relationship with your menstrual cycle, we see you, we love you, and you're valid.
Yeah, and we're proud of you.
Anywhere on that spectrum, whether you get your period or not, we are very proud, because while it is a pain in the butt getting it, there's also a lot that goes into not having one.
Exactly.
So, Ad, how old were you when you first got your period?
I was actually pretty old, I would say, when I first got my period. It happened around age 13 and 8th grade, so most of the girls in my class already gotten it. I was kind of older than most people who do get it, so I had a lot of people around me with experience who were able to help me, and it wasn't super traumatic for me because I was a little bit older, whereas I could not imagine being like 10 or 11 and having to deal with that.
Yeah, I was actually 11. I was in 6th grade, which would mean that we got our period around the same time because you were in 8th grade, I was in 6th grade, and we're 2 years apart.
Maybe mine triggered yours.
Yeah, maybe so. You definitely got yours before me, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But not long after, I got mine at age 11, and I was one of the first girls in my class to get one. But yeah, I think in general, it's starting to happen a lot younger with each generation.
The average age that a girl hits puberty has actually gone down an entire year since the 1970s, which is insane.
Yeah, That's
and
crazy.
I think it has a lot to do with the hormones in the milk and in meat and stuff that they're producing in the cows and stuff to make them produce more. It's causing added hormones to our kids and causing them to hit puberty earlier than they should.
Yeah, which isn't inherently a super bad thing. Like if you get your period early, you know, it's not the end of the world, but the fact that it's not natural and that it's potentially being caused by things like milk, I don't know. If you haven't switched to oat milk or something in 2021 by now, like maybe reassess that.
First of all, oat milk is delicious. My personal favorite brand is Oatly. It's just so creamy. It's really good for if you're doing like a coffee and you want creamer or you want some sort of added milk like in a smoothie. It's super creamy. But almond milk is super good too, and you might be surprised by how delicious it is.
Yeah, I 10 recommend switching. Yeah, I remember that day so vividly, the day I first got mine. Like I said, I was in 6th grade. Not a lot of my friends have gotten it yet, and I was wearing white shorts. Yikes, of course. Everything that could go wrong in, like, getting your first period, I felt like went wrong. It was the end of the day, go to the bathroom, oh my gosh. I knew what to expect because I had Addi as an older sister, and so it wasn't new territory. I've heard stories of some girls getting their first one and being like, what is going on with
Yeah, Carrie type beat.
Yeah, not knowing what's going on. I'm really lucky to be able to have an older sister to guide me through things like that. And of course, I have my mom as well. So I was kind of proud of myself when I got it. I came home and I was like,
so I got my period at school today, Mom.
And I remember Addi being like, oh my gosh. And so they both kind of helped me through it. And I wanted to try tampons right away. And they were like, no, you should try pads first. And it didn't last very long. I switched to tampons very soon after. But I got situated with my first ever pad. And I went to my room and watched Netflix. And I just like crashed in bed. And I was like, I'm on my period. Everyone leave me alone. And then Addi was like,
I literally just got my period not that long ago, and with my first one, I didn't get any cramps. So I think you're lying that you feel bad.
I was convinced that she was making it up for attention, but she did, regardless if she was making it up or not, she did milk it.
Yeah, I was milking it for sure. So the next day, I go to school, and of course, I'm one of the first girls in my class to get mine. So all my close friends are asking me about it, and I'm telling them. And I'm outside of the bathrooms. We're supposed to be in class, but me and my friend Maddie are talking, and I'm dating this, cute little blonde-haired boy at the time. And we're just hanging out talking, and I remember saying this sentence exactly. I said, yeah, my pad, like, it's so weird. It totally feels like a diaper. And right after I say that, someone puts their hands over my eyes, and I'm like, if this is my boyfriend, of course, in 6th grade, you're not actually, like, dating. We barely talked. We, maybe held hands a few times, but it wasn't, like, a boyfriend that I would sit down and talk about my period with, especially after I just got it. Very new territory for me. And, of course, it's him. And I turn around and I'm like, he definitely heard that. We didn't say anything about it, but, yeah, that was pretty scarring.
My first period story was pretty uneventful. Like I said, I was older. It happened like towards the last few hours of school, and it was a very small amount, so it wasn't enough for me to like bleed through anything. So I just went about my day, went home, and I pretty much went straight to tampons because I did not like the way the pads felt. My mom was like,
you're whack.
Yeah, she's like, but I was 13, so that's pretty, A lot of girls had already been having it for 2 years at that point. So I was like, I felt pretty good about it. It wasn't anything too horrific.
Good for you. Must be nice. Honestly, though, you're really lucky that your first time went so well. I think most people that have a period have at least one horror story about it just going completely horrible and blood everywhere and just some kind of bad, embarrassing situation.
We actually asked you guys on our Instagram at sbc.pod to send in your period horror stories, and we chose 3 that we were going to read for y'all. We promised we would keep you anonymous, so do not worry. Yes. But we are going to go ahead and read those. I think that they're going to be very funny and comforting for some people. Okay, I'm going to read the first one, and then you can read the next one. Okay. She said that her period horror story is funny to her now, but it was horrifying when it happened. So I got my period when I was 12, and the month after the first one, I was going on a camping trip with my youth group for the first time with no parents or my older sister. I was on my period, so I brought pads and tampons. I didn't know. I really had no clue how tampons worked and was too afraid to ask my older sister or my mom. Well, one day, I just laid a tampon on my underwear and just continued with my day. Later the day, me and my friends were changing to go take a bath, and I forgot I was wearing a tampon and changed right in front of them, and it just fell out in front of all of them. Gladly, they were nice and just helped me search how to put a tampon in because they also had no clue, and from then on, it was all okay. But I cringe every time I remember this. I laughed so hard when I read this just because I'm imagining her like just laying the tampon in her underwear being like, I don't really know how this works, but this seems right. Like that image was really funny to me.
Why is that kind of wholesome? I love that they like helped you figure it out instead of like being mean.
Yes, you
laughing.
have some great friends that you met on your camping trip because that is really sweet of them to help you. And it was a learning moment for everybody. I'm sure it was a bonding moment.
They probably remember it too and don't think of it as cringily as you do, hopefully.
Yeah. But I liked that one. I like how it ended pretty wholesome.
This next person said, I was babysitting these 2 little kids that my mom nannies for, and I was on my period. I obviously put my used pads in the trash can. Then their dad got home, and the kids noticed there was bloody toilet paper and stuff shredded all over the carpet. Their puppy had gone into the bathroom and brought all my used pads into the living room and tore them up. Their dad realized what they were, but he just said that he thinks the dog's mouth was bleeding because he didn't want me to be embarrassed. It didn't work, though. Haha, I was so embarrassed. You're literally the big sisters I've never had. Aw.
That one was a little relatable to me because I actually was at my boyfriend's house once, and not my current boyfriend, but in high school, and I had actually like bled through onto my underwear and took them off, and their puppy took the bloody underwear, and dragged it into the living room and was like cuddling with it. And thankfully, like, I was pretty comfortable with their family. I can't even imagine like a nanny situation. That's so much more like,
yeah, scarring.
So scary. I mean, it was scarring for me, but like they were cool and I knew them, so it wasn't as bad, but it was still super embarrassing.
Yikes. You want to read the next one?
Okay, this last one gave me Carrie vibes, so that's why I picked it. She said, a girl at my high school went to Sadie's with the cutest boy at school, and while they were grinding, she bled all over his white dress shirt somehow. I had the most secondhand embarrassment ever watching him realize what was on his shirt. She's married to a sexy German man now, though, so got back good karma from that incident. I am just imagining the kid like looking at his shirt, putting 2 and 2 together, and the poor girl was probably like, I hope she was like a mile out by that time.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
But good for her for being married to a sexy German man.
Yeah, I love that for her.
Thank you so much for sending in your period horror stories. It takes a lot of gut to send one of those in, and I know that I feel a little bit bonded with y'all from hearing those stories, and I hope y'all do too.
Yes, it always feels better when you're embarrassed about something that happened in your life to hear from someone else to be like, yeah, and we've all been through embarrassing things, and
we can all relate.
Normal.
I have a really good horror story that actually happened because of Camryn's recommendation, and this story takes place the day after Colette was born. I decided to try the Diva Cup for some reason that day. I was like, I'm just going to try it. Camryn and my mom had been talking about it. So I do it. And me and Robbie decide we're going to go visit Camryn at the hospital and do her makeup. She was about to see Landon for the first time in like 3 months. So I went over there. For some reason, I was wearing white shorts. It's always the white shorts. Why we decided to do that, I don't know. But I was like, okay, I'm going to be good. I got this Diva Cup in, like, we're all good to go.
Yeah, me and my mom had bragged about how it, like, never leaks. I still, to this day, have never had a leakage, so I don't know how you manage that, but go on.
So I finish her makeup, and I'm about to leave the hospital, and I feel a warm liquid from down my leg. And I looked down, the entire cup had some, I don't know if it like did some weird inverted thing inside of me, but the whole cup leaked out, which if you've ever tried a menstrual cup at all, you know that it holds a ton of liquid instead of like a tampon that soaks it all up and you have to change it. You wear it all day. So all the blood throughout the day was in this cup, turns over somehow. So the amount of blood that was on my shorts and my legs was beyond period level. Like anyone who saw it was like, what happened to you? So I was at a hospital and I was trying to leave and people were trying to help me. They're like, oh my God, you're bleeding. Like I'm walking down the hallway with like a murder scene happening beneath me. And all the people in the hospital are trying to help me and stop me and be like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I need to go. And I just ran out of there as fast as possible. And I don't know how many people I scarred, but I know for sure there was like a very young, attractive male nurse that I ran into, and
Yikes.
it was very hard for my ego. And since then, I have sworn off any menstrual cups because I'm too scarred.
It definitely takes a while to get a hold of. It's not for beginners at all. It's definitely one of the more advanced methods of controlling your period.
Yes, tampons are great for when you're first learning, and once you figure it out, it's a pretty easy, user-friendly process and way to tame your period, but it is bad for the environment. There is a lot of single-use plastic that goes into most tampons and some chemicals that are soaked into the cotton itself.
The average menstruator will use about 10,000 pads or tampons in their life. Think about all that waste, and a lot of that ends up in landfills.
I mean, if you think about 10,000 by the times the number of women who get their period, that's a lot.
Yeah. I personally like using the Diva Cup because it lowers that number by 10,000. Like, I strictly use that. There's no waste happening at all. Obviously, you need to replace it every now and then and keep up with it and keep it clean. But, that's a great, great, great way to minimize your waste.
If you are not comfortable using the Diva Cup, or if you've had a bad experience like I have, there is still a lot of new products out there that are better for the environment and better for your body. Because there is now movement in the feminist movement and female empowerment, there is a lot of new products being created because there's actual time and money and research going into women's menstruation, and people are starting to actually care. For the longest time, we just had pads and tampons, and that was our only option, and not really much progress was made. But now there is things like the Diva Cup. They actually make underwear that you can wear that will soak up your period. They have
period leggings even, I've heard of.
Yeah, I saw on Instagram the other day for period leggings, which I'm very curious. I might just
try it.
Yeah, I might do a video of us just trying them for a week and seeing like actual thoughts. And they even have reusable pads. So there is a lot of different products that you can try that are going to help reduce your waste.
And if you really like tampons and want to continue using those, and that's just really the only thing you're comfortable with, there's also ways you can minimize your waste in that even, and that's by switching to an organic tampon, which is not only better for the environment, but it's also better for your body. Like we said, there is a lot of toxic chemicals that go into making that type of product.
Yeah, there's a reason that toxic shock syndrome is a thing.
I know it's something that we all kind of don't really think about. It's just cotton and you put it in and it does what it does, but that's going into your body, and your body absorbs everything. Everything that, all this, even our makeup, everything, it goes into your bloodstream and just becomes a part of it. And that is very
scary.
Yeah.
And like we said, if you can find 100% cotton, no fragrance, organic tampons that have biodegradable in applications, or maybe even cardboard applications, is better than plastic. So do your research and find what works best for you.
And if you'd like to do your part to help stop the manufacturing of single-use plastic, we have a petition for you to sign on our website. It'll be linked there
at sbcpod.com. You can go and find all of our links there, and we will have the petition available for you to sign.
It is very annoying, to say the least, dealing with bleeding for 7 days straight and everything that goes along with that. But what's arguably just as annoying is the fact that on top of that, we have a ton of symptoms when we're on our period.
Yeah, I personally, the 2 weeks leading up to my period are the worst hormonally for me. And I would honestly say that that is the most difficult part for me personally. It's dealing with the hormones that come before my period. So it almost is a relief when I actually do get my period because the hormones start to balance out. And even though I do have to deal with the bleeding for the next 5 days, I still feel relieved that the hormones have kind of settled down. And if you're one of those people who deals with extreme PMS symptoms, you might want to talk to your doctor because it could be something that is treatable and something that is diagnosable.
For me, my worst symptom is the cramps that I get. The ones that I mentioned earlier that Addi kind of brushed off and thought I was faking. I've always just had really, really, really bad cramps. And even when I was giving birth, I wasn't even really feeling my contractions that much for a long time because I've just built up such a pain tolerance to my uterus contracting like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, are you feeling that? You're having a contraction right now. And they can see on the monitor, it's a pretty big contraction. And I'm just like, no, can't feel a thing. I'm chilling, which it was good to not feel a lot of my contractions at first, but kind of scary because I didn't even know I was in labor for both of my births, actually, that happened. So yeah, I've always just had the worst cramps, and cramps in itself have symptoms like
Backaches and the nausea, trouble eating. I've actually had an experience where I've blacked out at work and passed out because of how bad the cramping pain was, and had thrown up from it and just been completely debilitated and unable to go to work or whatever, had to call out of work because of how bad they were.
That's where it's kind of frustrating between the gap of being a man and being a woman is they don't really know what it feels like. And even sometimes, like we were saying, other women don't even know what it feels like because some women don't really get cramps. They go, yeah, my period's really light. I barely get cramps. And it's just like,
and it can be
nice.
hard. Like when I didn't start getting really bad period symptoms until I was 19. So until then, I always thought that people were overreacting. Even as like a woman who, got their period, I was like, why are people making it seem so horrible? Like it's not that bad. It doesn't even hurt that bad. And then now that I've experienced that, maybe this is karma. I am like, wow, it's night and day. And it is something that should be able to be called out of work about without question.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with like the whole gap between, having a male manager being like, you can't call out of work for your period. It's not that bad. Like, they don't know. They'll never feel that feeling. No. They'll never feel that pain. And so for them to be in positions of power to dictate whether or not it's that bad.
I've actually had that happen to me before where I've called in because of my cramps and he said I needed to get a doctor's note. And I was like, I'm not going to go to the doctor. I didn't have health insurance, first of all. I'm going to go to the doctor and spend $200 at urgent care to be like, I have menstrual cramps. They're going to be like, take some Midol and go home. And my female boss actually got on the phone and was like, ignore everything he just said. I'm so sorry he said that to you. And then went and gave him an earful about it. So luckily for her. But other people who just strictly have a male boss, it could be a situation where you have to go into work, or it's definitely something that needs to be worked on in the workforce environment.
In school as well, honestly, school and work.
PMS and cramps are just the tip of the iceberg, though, when it comes to period symptoms. There's acne, there's backaches, there's headaches, there's nausea.
The list just goes on and on.
A lot of people experience a different mix of these symptoms, so it's kind of unfair. Everyone kind of has their own poison when it comes to the period problems.
Yeah, it's different for every person.
But here are some ways that Camryn and I like to cope, and maybe these tips will help you.
As simple as it is, drinking water can go a long way. It's very draining on your body to bleed for that long, put it quite simply. And you really just kind of need to replenish what you're losing in all the ways that you can. So that's, iron supplements and all that kind of stuff. But really just water can go so much further. And I feel like all of us, in a general sense, probably aren't drinking enough water.
For sure. And you got to think about it as liquid in liquid. Even though it's blood and water, you're still losing liquid and water while you're getting your period, you want to be able to put that back in your body like tenfold. One thing that has really helped me in my period symptoms is taking an evening primrose supplement, which is a daily supplement you take all the time, not just when you're on your period. And it helps to balance hormones, and it's anti-inflammatory. So it really helps with cramps and also really helps with breast tenderness, which we haven't talked about yet, which is something that is super painful and really affects me as well. Which it just helps it's anti-inflammatory, like I said. So it helps kind of lower the stress of those symptoms and also balances your hormones.
This next tip, me and Addi kind of don't agree on. Everyone likes to cope in different ways, but for me, I like to go out for the day and just kind of distract myself from all the pain I'm feeling. It is very easy for me to just be like, okay, I'm on my period. There goes the whole week, not doing anything productive this week. I will be laying in bed. No one talk to me. No one bother me. And as someone with depression, that is not healthy for my mental. So I need to force myself, especially for those first 2 days on my period, which are usually the worst, to just get out and go. And once I'm doing things and having a whole day, especially since I use a Diva cup and you don't have to change those as often as a tampon, I just kind of forget about it. I mean, other than a cramp here and there, especially if I medicate and take some ibuprofen, to just go out and distract myself as much as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the opposite. I am a bed girl when it comes to that. I'm like, I use it as an excuse to take the day off, which I don't give myself enough of as it is, and kind of be pampered by my boyfriend, which I have the luxury of being with somebody who is very sweet and comforting during that time and goes out of his way to go the extra mile and take care of things that I do not want to do during that time.
He tries his best. I mean, there was the time that he got like giant supersized tampons for you.
Yes, yeah.
But he's trying.
He really tried. He came back with the Super Plus, and I was like, ouch. But thank you.
I'll use them. I gave birth.
My next tip is to take a bath, which we all know heat and pain kind of help. Heat's also anti-inflammatory, so I like to take a bath, do some Epsom salts. I like the post-workout ones because they help a lot with like joint pain and backaches. Just take like a 30-minute bath, drink some tea, and just really allow myself to kind of relax all my muscles. And it does really help with the pain, and also just sitting in the bath and kind of feeling clean for a short amount of time is really helpful.
Yeah. I feel like society has kind of stigmatized periods with ew, gross. And while I think it is important to kind of break that stigma, you know, I think everyone can agree that you feel kind of gross during your period, regardless.
Sure. And I think you like sweat more and you just feel, I don't know, maybe it's all in my head, but I just always feel like I need to shower 8 times a day.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, baths are crucial. My third tip is a heating pad, which, you know, baths are great, but sometimes if you're just not in the mood for all that.
You want that specific targeted heat.
Yes, exactly. And you want it, like, immediate. Like, I don't even want to wait to run a bath.
Yeah.
I will go and I have a little sloth stuffed animal that has, like, beans inside of it to heat up. Put it in the microwave and just put it right where it hurts. And just,
Yeah, it's honestly one of the most crucial things I've ever experienced. If you don't have a little heating pad, you can actually make one at home. Just get like an old male sock, like something big, clean, obviously. Fill it with rice and put a hair tie around it, and you have a little rice heating pad, and it is crucial. My next tip is to do a little bit of exercise, nothing crazy. It could even be like yoga is super good. A lot of women hold emotion in their hips, so doing some exercises and some stretches to kind of release that can be really helpful, and just kind of get a little bit of blood flowing so you don't feel so sluggish and, you know, heavy, and you can kind of release some of those endorphins. And
before I was the type of person to work out, I always hated when people told me to work out on my period. I'm like, that is the last thing I feel like doing, but it really does help. And I feel like for me, it also kind of goes into the distracting myself thing. Because when I'm feeling the pain of lifting weights, I'm not feeling the pain of what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think working out really does help a lot.
Yeah, those are our little tips for your period, and we hope that you learn something new or you try some of these out and hopefully they give you some help.
And for our viewers out there who are yet to get their first period, we just want to let you know that while this episode is kind of daunting and it sounds awful what we have to go through, because it kind of is, it's not as bad as it seems, though. You learn to live with it, you get used to it, and you are a badass at the end of the day for being able to manage that once a month.
Yeah, and it's honestly it's a celebratory thing in a lot of cultures and religions, and it's something that you should be proud of yourself for, first of all. And it also just kind of, I find it empowering when you, at the end of the day, it's something that, I don't know any male in my life that would go through this and not be crying in the corner. So I am proud of you. And I am cheering you on over here, and I hope that you have a easy first time and it's not anything too horrific.
Yes. And when that day comes, you can come back to this episode and listen to your two older sisters tell you everything you need to know. And we also hope that you have someone in your life that you can go to when that time comes. And, I feel like that's a luxury you and I just kind of might not appreciate as much as someone else, is having a sister to talk about periods with, and to, especially when you're first trying to learn all this crazy stuff about how it all works and how to deal with it. But don't be afraid to reach out to the woman in your life and get the help from wherever you can get it.
Yeah, it's a totally normal, and it happens to everybody, so nothing to be embarrassed about.
Nope, not whatsoever. If you bleed on your white shorts, just know that we've all been there.
And I've stopped buying white shorts, so maybe we should discontinue white shorts as a whole.
Maybe that's like the new trend of this next year is no pants except for black. How about that? Let's just do black pants.
Yeah, that's why the period leggings are all black.
Love that for us. I'm definitely going to try those out. It is time for, I feel like we need a little jingle, the Sisterly Advice segment. Whoa, that was a lot.
I didn't know that was coming.
The Sisterly Advice segment.
The Sisterly Advice column. We ask you guys every week to send in your sisterly advice, and we will read about it on the podcast and give you some sisterly advice from your favorite sister duo. This one is related to this week's episode, so I thought it would be a good one. She asked for advice on how to have the period talk with your boyfriend or partner without it being awkward, and or things we should avoid talking about.
With our partners?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really necessarily think there's anything, at least that comes to mind, that you should avoid when it comes to talking with your partner about those kinds of things.
I think maybe it depends on your age.
Yeah, true. It definitely does depend on your age and honestly your relationship with that person and how comfortable you are with getting into the bloody details, might I say.
I think that you want to be as open and honest as you can, and you don't have to be too detailed, but you want to not necessarily get sympathy, but you want them to be able to understand it as much as they can. And hopefully they have women in their lives that they can have some sort of experience from, so it's not completely taboo. But if you are younger and you're in middle school, I would just say, I got my period and it's something that I'm learning to deal with, and I just asked for your support. Or, you don't have to bring it up at all if you don't feel comfortable, but I wouldn't personally be like ashamed to hide your tampons or to not let them know that you got it or hide it from them. I used to be the person who would hide my tampon in my sweater and walk to the bathroom so no one saw me, and nowadays I'm just like
tampon.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hide it or pretend like it's not happening, because totally normal and you shouldn't feel ashamed. And the more that we do that as a society and a community, the less stigmatized it is. So if we're all just super open with it, eventually people are gonna get over it, and it's honestly not that big of a deal.
It's really not. I can imagine how intimidating that would be, though. I mean, my story with Brandon of him, coming up behind me, overhearing me talking about it. Yeah, middle school boys, they're kind of, they laugh at things that
Yeah.
they shouldn't be laughing at. And they'll learn that as they get older and whatever. Everyone grows up eventually and realizes it's just not that big of a deal. But, you know, just share as much as you're comfortable with, and hopefully they will reciprocate and be accepting. And I think if you approach it, you know, like this chill thing, it's not like this super serious
don't
thing.
give any power to it or them about it. Just be like, yeah, that happened. On my period.
Yeah.
And not be like, I have something to tell you. I'm scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, don't be too lighthearted about it either, because you want them to respect you. And, you know, it is serious to an extent, but it's also
Not the end of the world. And not something for them to
joke about to you and make fun of you for.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying
make
to
sure
get
you
at.
get your boundaries
Uh-huh.
set. But good luck. I know that that's an intimidating conversation. The younger that you are, the less likely boys are to be mature to you. So
Yeah, we mature a lot faster than boys. So
just keep that in mind. If they start making fun of you, just be like, okay, well, they're just immature, and we'll pray for them.
yeah, that's all we can do.
We can just hope they grow up. That's about it. Thank you so much for watching our period episode. We will probably have more of these in the future because there's so much to cover when it comes to this topic.
I'd love to have another episode and get deeper into women health rights in general, and periods are a huge part of that, like we were talking about in the workplace and things like that, and to really delve into women's reproductive rights.
Yes, for sure. But that is for a later episode. If you have anything about that topic that you want to hear about specifically, don't be afraid to DM us, and we will definitely get to it. But next week, we are having a sibling episode where we will be having each of our siblings on individually to be interviewed.
Yes, we have 3 younger siblings, and we're all 2 years apart. So there's a lot of very different perspectives of just life and growing up.
Yeah, we have Corbin, who is about to be 18, London, who is 15, and Avon, who is 11. So we have that wide variety. We're going to get their perspectives on a lot of different things about COVID and school and just kind of their lives a little bit, about our childhood growing up and what it's like to be a sibling of 5 kids. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely tune in to episode 3, where we'll be talking with our siblings. It's our first guest episode, so that's super exciting.
So exciting. To play a bigger part in the Sisters by Chance community, make sure you're staying connected on our Instagram. That's where we take our sisterly advice column at the moment. By now, actually, our website should be up by the time you're listening to this. So there should be a place on there for you to leave some comments and requests for the sisterly advice segment.
All of our social media and website will be linked in the bio, as well as all of the show notes will be on our website.
Don't forget to sign that petition we mentioned earlier.
After this episode, we'll be going live on our Instagram at sbc.pod to go more in depth about this topic, answer your questions, and do a little bit of a bonding moment with our friends by choice. So definitely check that out. We will be doing that about an hour after we post every episode on Fridays. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Cut the cameras.
It is.